Let's tell you about Russia's newest ally, Georgia. The former Soviet Republic has just taken a step closer to Russia. Georgia has passed what's being called the Foreign Influence Law. This law brands NGOs and media companies that receive over 20% of their funding from abroad as bodies pursuing the interests of a foreign power. The law was passed on Tuesday. Inside the parliament, a fight broke out between the opposition and the ruling Georgian Dream Party, which has been in power since 2012. An opposition leader punched a leader of the ruling party in the face. Protesters clashed with riot police and shut down a major intersection in the capital. People in Georgia have been protesting for weeks now. Protesters say the law symbolizes Georgia's drift closer to Russia. It also jeopardizes Georgia's bid to join the EU. For weeks now, protesters have been chanting "No to Russian law." They have been holding European flags, playing Beethoven's Ode to Joy, which is also known as the Anthem of Europe. Georgia's bid to the EU and NATO memberships enshrined in the constitution. It applied to be part of the EU in 2022. The country was granted candidate status in 2023. After the vote, EU's Foreign Affairs Chief issued a joint statement with the Neighbourhood Commissioner. It reads, "The EU stands with the Georgian people and their choice in favour of democracy and of Georgia's European future." Opinion polls showing that a majority of Georgians in a nation of 3.7 million want to join the EU. So what explains the law? The government says the law is necessary to stem what it sees as harmful foreign influence. Critics, in fact, point out its similarities to a foreign agent law Russia implemented in 2012. The law forced NGOs engaging in so-called political activity to register as foreign agents. You see, it's not just the protesters, but also Georgia's president who is standing firm in opposition to the law. This is Salom Zorabichvili. She is the president of Georgia. She had vowed to veto the law, but the ruling party has the numbers it needs to override a presidential veto. So what happens next? After the vote, the president said the government's actions were, quote-unquote, a return to the former past. Adding the protests on the streets prove that Georgians, quote-unquote, will never return to Russian pressure. In the capital, the president held a joint press conference along with leaders of Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Iceland.
Let me be very clear. The adoption of the Foreign Agents Law, as well as continued repression against Georgia's civil society, will stop Georgia's further progress on EU and NATO path. If this happens, responsibility will lie squarely on Georgia's government.
This law is taking Georgia further than away from the European Union path. This is a U-turn to which the European Union will certainly react.
And in this respect, it's very difficult to understand why this particular law on the transparency of foreign influence had to be adopted now.
The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov accused the West of undisguised interference in Georgia's internal affairs. Georgia's Prime Minister had previously said that if the bill was not passed, Georgia would lose its sovereignty and, quote, easily share the gate of Ukraine. What did he mean by that? We don't know. A day after the law was passed, students in the capital decided to boycott classes. There were no students at the university. Students accused the government of snatching away their European future.
We students decided to protest this event, so we decided to don't go to lectures. But I think university is usually open. Now is open it, but there's no students. They decided to not go to lectures because when in the country situation, very difficult situation, very political situation, there's no time to study some diplomacy and things about international relations. Because if we stop and if we stay at homes, at rooms of university, there will be no future for us.
The U.S. Assistant Secretary of State, Jim Open, spoke to Georgia's Prime Minister before the vote. The American official said Georgia would lose hundreds of millions in aid if Georgia became an adversary. In other words, a Russian ally. The spotlight, in fact, is also on one billionaire, Bidzina Ivanishvili. He is the founder and bankroller of the ruling Georgian Dream Party. He is also widely referred to as the most powerful person in Georgia. Ivanishvili has made his fortune in Russia, and he is accused of leaning towards Moscow. This billionaire has never condemned Russia's war in Ukraine. But what he has done is previously accused NGOs of being foreign puppets, even plotting a revolution. Did this billionaire have anything to do with the law? Is he the one bringing Georgia closer to Russia? These are questions a lot of people are asking as the protests continue on the streets. Economic despair, political uncertainty, and a long list of other troubles. That the people of Pakistan are fed up of the mounting misery in the country is well known. What is also well known and hard to miss is the sharp contrast between the stories of India and Pakistan. You see, India's is a story of progress, growth, while Pakistan's is a story of misery, debt, economic trouble, and instability. Remarks made by a prominent Pakistani-American businessman have been dominating headlines. His name is Sajid Tarar. You know what he said? He hopes that Pakistan gets a leader like Prime Minister Modi. He has heaped praise on Prime Minister Modi, saying he is not only good for India, but for the region and the world. He was speaking to news agency PTI. As per the report, he called Prime Minister Narendra Modi a remarkable leader who has taken India to new heights. Who is Sajid Tarar? The Pakistani-American businessman moved to the US in the 1990s. He is well connected with the ruling Pakistani establishment. He is the founder of American Muslims for Trump. He was the advisor for Muslims to the former President Trump. Remember, on Monday, we told you all about the protests in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. People have been calling for freedom. POK has been on the boil. We told you all about the anger on the ground, how the protesters are fed up, and how reports talk about posters coming up across POK demanding that POK be allowed to join India. Yes, demanding that POK be allowed to join India. One POK activist, in fact, even called for intervention by the Indian government. Sajid Tarar has now questioned the decision of the Pakistani Prime Minister to give financial aid to the people of POK. He asked, where is the money going to come from? According to him, there is no effort to resolve the grassroots issues. How to increase exports, how to bring terrorism under control and improve law and order. He also said the rise of India in 2024 is amazing and that it's a story to be told. He added, you will see it in the future that people will learn from Indian democracy, quote unquote. The thing is, the contrast between the stories of India and Pakistan is obvious. India is on the verge of becoming the third largest economy in the world with a GDP of $5 trillion in the next 3 years. Meanwhile, Pakistan is facing a severe economic crisis. It's facing a chronic balance of payments crisis. Inflation is high. Petrol prices have been high. The skyrocketing inflation making basic needs like food unaffordable. So yes, Pakistan is in dire straits. We told you earlier about Pakistanis going missing after landing in another country. Perhaps they were trying to escape the misery back home. Pakistan's own Prime Minister has talked about how embarrassing it is to go around with a begging bowl. The people of Pakistan are desperate. Sajid Tarar wishes that they get some leadership that can take them to the next level away from all these issues. For now, that looks impossible. While the people on the ground suffer, there is a lot that they hope would change. There is growing resentment on the ground. The country is in a mess of its own making and is struggling to find a way out. For now, there seems to be no light at the end of this tunnel. Music doesn't end wars. It cannot stop missiles. It doesn't end suffering. But it isn't entirely powerless either. Far from it, in fact. What music can do is bring people together, give voice to opinions. If not, why does every big movement have an anthem? If not, why is Hong Kong hell-bent on banning this particular one? It's called Glory to Hong Kong. It was composed by a musician under a pseudonym in August 2019. And since then, it has become the unofficial anthem of the pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. If you do a simple Google search, you will find the lyrics online. Along with that, you will also find this message. I'm quoting, "We are a group of Hong Kongers who also happen to be the team behind the Glory to Hong Kong anthem. We know that this struggle will be a long one. This struggle for freedom, this struggle for democracy." Such widespread is the anthem that it has been mistakenly played at international sporting events involving Hong Kong teams instead of China's national anthem, March of the Volunteers. It contains lyrics that reference the phrase, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our times." Now, for those who don't know, it's a protest slogan that was already outlawed in 2020. The anthem was bound to attract scrutiny in an intolerant Hong Kong. Authorities have long accused it of having separatist undertones. But they aren't just mad at the ballad or those singing it. They are also furious with Google. That's right. Pro-Beijing politicians and officials, even Hong Kong's Justice Minister Paul Lam, have put the blame on Google's algorithm for the song's popularity, for letting the song come up at the top of searches. Like I told you, it will only take you a few clicks to find it and the message associated with it. But that is not the case in Hong Kong anymore. The authorities have got what they have long demanded, a ban on the anthem. That's right. Glory to Hong Kong is no longer available on YouTube there. Attempts to access the video now yielding messages like, "This content is not available in this country domain due to a court order," or "This video is not available anymore." Even the instrumental and sign language versions have been blocked. What does YouTube have to say? In a statement, it has said that it is disappointed by the court's decision, but will comply with the order to remove the anthem. The ban has come into effect after almost a year of back and forth, by the way. Last June, Hong Kong's Department of Justice filed a court injunction seeking a ban on the broadcasting or distribution of the song. The injunction was rejected then. Last year, Google received 105 requests to remove content from its platforms. This included YouTube, Google sites, and its search services. 6 of those requests involved what the authorities called national security threats. In May 2023, Google said it was asked to remove a Google Drive account that appeared to encourage participants to submit videos of themselves singing "Glory to Hong Kong." Google, however, did not comply with the request. But now the court's decision has been overturned following an appeal. Judges have said the song was a weapon that could be used to undermine national security. The anthem cannot be broadcast, performed, printed, published, sold, distributed, disseminated, displayed, or reproduced anymore. What comes next? What happens to those who violate the ban? Will they land in trouble? Will the authorities crack down on people singing a song? Is that how fragile the establishment really is? That it feels threatened by a song? Or is it the dragon that they actually fear? Because you see, Hong Kong does need to cater to Beijing's demands. Back in 2020, in fact, China imposed a sweeping national security law on Hong Kong. This was in response to the pro-democracy protests that erupted in 2019. The law delivered a major blow to Hong Kong's autonomy. It criminalized anything considered as secession, subversion, terrorism, and collusion. This year, a second local security bill known as Article 23 was passed. It targets seditious acts, espionage, and foreign interference. But you know what? The government can impose all the laws and bans it wants, but it's difficult to entirely stop what is happening. Some versions of the anthem still remain available. I won't name the platforms, and even when they get blocked, the song may still find its way to its audience through one way or the other.